So, I couldn't find any firewood, but I did find this beer. We should be good for a while anyway.
Should we even be starting a fire in the house?
What do you mean inside? Look up at that sky full of stars and tell me there's a roof up there.
Pretty.
You know, sitting here at this cozy campfire with someone I'm pretty sure spits in my food every time I go to the bathroom.
You know about that?
Yeah, but anyway, it reminds me of a show called Are You Afraid of the Dark? So why don't we go over each and every episode in excruciating detail for a while? You've got nowhere to be, right?
This is all I got going on right now.
For those of you unfamiliar, the way that the show is framed is that the Midnight Society are a group of kids that will, meet up and tell a story, and then the main plot is just framed by those kids telling this story and interjecting. Just think of us as a frame to the frame.
Can never have enough frames.
Let's start with the first episode of the series, Tale of a Phantom Cab. It's a story of two boys that get lost in the Canadian wilderness and come across two strange men. Sure, we've seen it before, but have we seen it with a guy holding a brain like it's silly putty? I don't think so. So, salute. Let's watch.
We're called the Midnight Society.
The leader of the Midnight Society, Gary, jumps us into the gang to start the series. A new prospective member, Frank, pulls up to the campfire and is tasked with telling a good story, good enough to get him into the club. Now, the actual story starts with a pair of brothers, Buzz and Denny, hiking through the woods. It doesn't take long before the brothers get lost and immediately start snapping at each other. Buzz was in charge of the map and feels obligated to lead the boys home, but he just can't do anything right. As the day turns to night, tensions run higher and higher as Denny discovers Buzz was using the compass the wrong way all day. Embarrassed, Buzz runs off into the woods to find a way out and comes across a flashlight in the distance. Emerging from the fog is your average Canadian man named Flynn. Flynn knows the woods like the back of his hand and offers to help the kids in a pretty strange way. Now, why would you follow a strange man into the woods?
Maybe things are different up north.
Guess that's possible. I mean, Flynn looked pretty unassuming, like he was about to go tear up a sixer of Labatt and then eat some poutine. Just real Canadian uncle core. Also, we need to address the brother dynamic. I mean, if Denny is that mad at Buzz for getting them lost, why wouldn't he look at the compass? You take over the compass for a little bit, at least look at it once before wandering through the woods and getting lost.
Also, what kind of names are Denny and Buzz?
I feel like Buzz was more popular in the 90s, like as a name, or maybe as a nickname. Maybe it's short for like Buzzword or Buzzthany. Either way, we got two brothers lost in the woods and they just ignored all the rules of stranger danger to follow him into a strange house. A bold move. Let's see how it plays out. Anyway, the kids follow Flynn to his contact in the woods, who lives in a little cottage, but his weirdness doesn't stop. The brothers shrug off their suspicions and decide to walk into the creepy forest hut anyway. Creepy as hell. Anyway, this is Dr. Vink with a V. Get used to him saying it because he shows up a lot more than you would think, and in a few different roles, but now he's a forest hobo scientist druid running experiments on animals. The boys want to go home, but Vink won't let them go until they answer some riddles. Buzz answers the riddle quickly, and Denny assumes the test is over, but when he reaches for the phone, Vink threatens to cut the phone line. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, Denny reluctantly agrees to the challenge. The answer is a hole, but Denny and Buzz can't think on their feet at all and totally whiff on the answer, so Vink kicks them out. The boys are upset, but Vink says that if they walk out to a dirt road, a cab will pick them up in no time, but not before giving them one last scare. I don't know what came over me, I'm sorry. Anyway, that kid that plays Buzz is a pretty bad actor.
Both kids are pretty bad actors, if we're being honest.
Yeah, I know, but at least Denny looked scared when he was supposed to be scared. Buzz was just kind of deadpan. It threw me off. Anyway, other than the Midnight Society, Vink is pretty much the only recurring character, and I guess it makes sense in the universe if all these kids are telling stories and they need just a generic creepy guy, they just go Vink.
Did you say mink?
No, Vink with a V. They say that joke every time he appears, and I don't get it. Maybe it's something in the Canadian to American translation that got lost and just flew right over top my red, white, and blue brain, but I don't understand it. But you see it every time, so get used to it. Anyway, the kids ran away from the creepy vagrant and out into the woods, so let's see what their next move's going to be. Let's watch. So the boys ran all the way to the dirt road Vink mentioned earlier, and wouldn't you know it, a cab pulls out just as they arrive. When the kids get in the cab, they recognize the driver immediately, but he looks especially strange now. Flynn hauls ass through the woods and tells the kids he's been taking people to Vink for 40 years. When questioned about how that's possible, we get a pretty straightforward answer. Flynn lets the kids know he straight up murders everyone who can't solve the riddle, and they got about 30 seconds to get it, or else their mangled bodies are going to be wrapped around a tree like a meat scarf. But Buzz comes through in the clutch and thinks up the answer. So the boys are dumped out of the cab in the middle of the woods, but wouldn't you know it, a park ranger comes by looking specifically for them. So Frank's story wraps up there, but he lets us know that when the boys get back to Vink's cottage, nothing is there. So he was a ghost too. At this point, the kids vote on whether or not Frank is in the society, and he passes with unanimous approval. So a happy ending for Frank in the Midnight Society, and a good enough ending for the boys in this story. As we go on, we'll learn more about the Midnight Society and the role they play in the overall series, but for now, we can just go with glasses guy, smartass guy, tough girl, popular girl, normal tropes.
You can be glasses guy or dumbass guy. I'll be tough guy.
Yeah, big talk for someone that couldn't even collect wood.
I have no hands, jackass.
You know what they say, excuses are like buttholes. Everyone's got one and they show them too much.
What?
What? Anyway, we had a nice little intro to the Midnight Society, and I really dig the campfire creepy story vibe of it. The story itself was alright, it was decent, there's plenty of scares, it's pretty straightforward. If anything, I may have suggested cutting Vink out, because really you could just tell that same story with Flynn picking the kids up and then making the cab ride just a little more creepy while we're in the episode. You know, the whole detour of mad scientist that has a ghost in his employment, yeah, you don't really need it. There's already a ghost. Why do you need to muddy the water, you know? Let's take a look at those scare totals for the episode. We have 1 Canadian sorry, 20 older brother insults, 1 hand in a jar, 1 brain in the hand, 3 ghosts in the bush, and 1 ghost of someone's probably drunk uncle. Solid debut for the series. I'm excited to see more. So for that, I'm going to have to give The Tale of the Phantom Cab 4 V's out of 5 Vinks. Check it out. Especially if you go hiking through the Canadian wilderness and you get lost with a guy that hates your guts, and then you come across someone's drunk uncle that looks a little bit like, is it Andy Richter? I don't know. He's in some show, it feels like. I think it's the gap in his teeth. I don't know. He looks familiar enough that I would probably trust walking into a house with him. And then, you know, they'd probably chop my hands off. So, my bad, I guess. Right? You don't get it. All right. I'll see you guys on the next one. The next meeting, if you will, of whatever we are. See ya.
You might say, I should have died!